Hola, hola.
Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Winedown.
Cocktail edition.
I have a delicious margarita, no simple syrup, and Elise has.
I'm drinking, of course, my classic Prosecco.
And today we're going to talk about really what it takes to be in two different states of being. One is a sympathetic state, which is fight, flight, freeze, that kind of stress that we kind of think about normally. And so that's our sympathetic state. And then the other is parasympathetic. And that one has to do more with like rest, digest, relax, and the feeling that you get when you're kind of on vacation.
And you're going to have to help me through this because I always get the two confused. What's the trick you use to remember the difference?
So sympathetic is fight, flight, or freeze.
So sympathetic S stress.
Yes. Parasympathetic is rest, digest, relax.
Okay.
And so
Parasympathetic is for you.
it's for you.
Pot of tea.
There you go. And so what often happens is we get put in different situations that put us into one of the two areas, one of the two different stress states. And that's what we have to understand is that it's not one or the other, it's a spectrum across the day. And there's going to be times where being in a sympathetic state is optimal for us, and times where being in a parasympathetic state is optimal for us. And our body does not know the difference between mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual stress. It only identifies it as stress. And so if we are in this sympathetic overload all day long, it will start to have an impact on our relationships, it'll start to have an impact on our sleep, it'll start to have an impact on our weight, it'll have an impact on our mental clarity. And so that's why understanding the difference and what puts you in each space is so key.
So to bring it into reality, something that puts me into a sympathetic state, a stress state, quite often, is packing. So there's been a lot of packing in our recent past. We just moved, so there was quite a lot of packing that happened there, and you can ask Justin, I was very, very stressed to have to pack up an entire household and move it.
And that's on top of her typical everyday stress that's going on, her workout that she's doing, business.
Anything I may encounter in any given day.
Exactly.
You being annoying.
Guilty. And so it starts to compound after a while. And so
packing for me is one of those things that really puts me into a sympathetic state. It's something as small as packing to come on this trip is another thing that puts me into a sympathetic state. So what Justin and I did was we actually planned time and made it a fun thing before we came on vacation to enjoy packing together. I love picking out outfits, so instead of viewing it as packing, it was, okay, let's plan our evening together. Let's think about what we want to be wearing. What do we want to be wearing today? What do we want to be wearing to the beach? What do we want to be wearing at night? And so, in doing so, it helped put me into more of a parasympathetic state. It was still work for me. I had to be very aware of how I was showing up and aware that it was something that was causing me stress. However, reframing it within my mindset to allow it to be something that was fun instead of stressful really helped me in that situation.
And at the end result, for Elise being able to understand that, hey, this is something that puts me into a sympathetic state, and reframing it and changing it and putting her into that parasympathetic state, improved the way that she was able to focus on the rest of her day, improved the way in which she was able to show up for her clients, show up for the business, show up for me, show up for herself, and ultimately get greater recoveries or enhanced HRV scores as the night went on, and have a great sleep so that she could wake up the next day ready to perform.
In fact, I'm pretty sure I had a great recovery that night.
And who knows, had we been, we can do an experiment, but if you take a look at other days that we've packed, when putting them in that same place, if you woke up with a lesser recovery, simply because the awareness was not made to make that shift from parasympathetic or into parasympathetic from sympathetic.
Absolutely. We don't even have to do an experiment because when I was looking at my recoveries from the time of when we were moving, I was in yellows and reds for a week and a half straight. And knowing that, packing puts me in that state, I was actually doing my own experiment. How can I put myself in more of a parasympathetic state And in fact, it actually worked.
And so for you guys, how do we apply this to our life? Well, the big thing is understanding and tracking HRV. We have to know that one metric can change the way in which we show up in every way, shape, and form of our life, because it has such a great impact on us. And once we understand that HRV is a measure of sympathetic or parasympathetic overload, we can start to identify where on the spectrum we're lying for the vast majority of our day. And by being aware of those factors that put us into that sympathetic state, we can start to make active, conscious choices of what we engage in, what we don't, and the timing of which we do them. So with that, guys, here's to being in a parasympathetic state.
Cheers to you. Cheers.
Go own it.
Go own it. Hope you enjoyed the view.